I blended, I integrated. God took the fragmented pieces of my mind and blended them together. It happened over 20 years ago, and this is my story, how that happened. If you've been watching, you know that when I was 27, I was diagnosed with DID, dissociative identity disorder, what was once known as multiple personalities. Because of the trauma in my past, my brain fractured as a protection to me, and those personalities, they kept the memories, they kept the pain, they kept all of that. And what happened is I entered into a time of healing. I found a community of people who loved me, who wrapped their arms around me, who were just accepted me and treated me like a human being, not as a project to fix. They just loved me. I found a counselor that I was willing to work with. I was processing as much as I could during this process, and it was a long process, intense therapy for about 5 years. I mean, it was something I wanted to find out how to bring peace to my life, because I was in utter chaos and utter terror and utter panic and utter fear, and I did not want to live that way. So here I am. I am in a good place, surrounded by good people. And the individual parts, they trusted my counselor, Leah. They trusted her, and they started opening up, and they started telling her their secrets. And in that process, Leah was encouraging me to stay around, listen to what happened to them. And I went from a place of hating them, hating the parts, blaming them for everything that happened. They messed my life up. I would be normal if it wasn't for them. That's the place I started. And over the course of years and the acceptance that that Leah and the others gave me, I started to love the different parts of me. And I was a preschool teacher, and I loved the little kids in my preschool, and I hated the little ones inside of me. And what I realized during this time, that changed, and I started loving little Rebecca, who was taking care of all the little ones. And I started feeling just compassion for them. And instead of blaming them for what happened, I looked at it and I went, you were just a child. I am so sorry that you were treated that way. And it went from love and acceptance to just literally embracing them and saying, I am so sorry you were hurt. I am so sorry that all this was done. And that is the place that I find myself. I have heard all their stories. I have just been trying to learn how to communicate with them and talk to them and just let us live an okay life and to move forward with this. And here we come. And there was a movie coming out, and the movie was The Passion of the Christ. And for some odd reason, my stubbornness, I wanted to see that movie so bad, but I knew I could not. And I could not because I respected the little ones in me. Little Rebecca and the other little ones, they could not have handled such a bloody movie. I did not do blood. It just, And so I was going to respect them, and I was going to say, I won't see that movie. I can't see that movie. I can't do that. And that's what changed. I went from hating them and just being so upset to loving them and treating them like they were my children, only they were me. They were little parts of me. And so I started respecting them and embracing them and loving them, even though I really wanted to see that movie. I was not going to, because I did not want to hurt the little me's inside. It would have been too hard. And it's probably about a week before Easter, and I went to church. And normally after church, I would get triggered, certain things would happen, and Leah would just always pray for me, and she would pray for peace, and she would pray that Stephanie would come back out, whoever had been triggered out. And so I was kind of used to that. Well, this time, I don't know, the kids I could hear them in the other room, and they were watching some cartoon about the boogeyman, and it just literally freaked me out. I don't know what the show was, but something got triggered, and I was just really, really upset. And so after church, I went into Leah's office, and she was just going to pray with me. And I told her just the anxiety I had and about, hearing those words in church, just the combo did not work for me. And as I was sharing with them, and she prayed for me, and I calmed down. And then this was unplanned. This wasn't even a counseling session. This was just a please pray for me for peace so that I can go throughout my week. I remember standing up, and I looked at Leah, and it was just, I wish I could tell you exactly what happened, but it was just this thing inside of me. And I looked at Leah and I went, Leah, that one memory, That happened to me, didn't it? And she said, mm-hmm. And I said, and this memory, and I listed the memory, that happened to me, didn't it? She went, mm-hmm. And I stood there for the next 5-10 minutes going through each of the stories that each of the individual parts had shared with her. And I said, that happened to me, didn't it? And she said, mm-hmm. And it was a God-given appointment. I don't know. It was not a getting rid of the parts. It was an embracing the parts and saying, you're not separate from me. You are me. And there was just a wholeness that happened, unplanned for, unthought of, but all of the work and all of the years and all of the trust that the parts had built with Leah, and they were starting to build with me, I realized that it was me that had gone through all that trauma. And that is a major step, going from it happened to them, I'm so sorry for them, to it happened to me. And Leah prayed with me again, and I went home, and it was very, very different. There was a blending that happened. There was no splintered, fractured parts anymore, but they were me. It was all me. And that step was a major answered prayer. That step was a major God miracle. But it was just the beginning of the work that I had to do to find freedom. Thanks for listening to my story. There's still so much to tell.